Welcome to Trondheim on the Norwegian National Day. This year's celebrations were marred by rain and wind, but the poor weather did not stop locals and visitors from getting out and enjoying themselves. Also known as Constitution Day, 17. Mai, or simply the 17th of May, the National Day is the highlight of the year for many people in Norway. Essentially, it is Norway's birthday party. In this video, I'll tell you a bit about Norway's National Day and show you how the day is celebrated here in Trondheim, Norway's third biggest city and my home for the last 10 years. Families all over Norway have their own 17. Mai traditions, but one of the most common is a lavish breakfast, often involving something fizzy. Unfortunately, that was not on the cards for me this year because I needed to get into the city early to start making this video. But before I left, I did have time to put out our balcony flag. The first thing you'll notice about the 17th of May in Norway is the national flag. It is everywhere. The red, white and blue Nordic cross is on houses, buses, construction sites, cakes, in people's hands, and even Google got in on the act this year. The bus to town was quiet, very quiet, but it was merely the calm before the storm, in more ways than one. Once I made it into Trondheim city centre, the first place I headed was the Hurtigruten quayside. Every morning a Hurtigruten or Havila coastal cruise ferry arrives here, but on the 17th of May things work a little differently. I boarded as a port guest to watch the captain raise a flag and lead a chorus of Norway's national anthem as passengers from across the world looked on. It would be the first of many times I'd hear the national anthem during the day. Once the flag raising ceremony was complete, attention turned to the quayside where music was provided by Byåsen Musikkorps. However, just before they started, the rain began to fall and an almighty wind swept across the quayside. Somehow, the group managed to play 3 pieces before taking refuge inside the ship. Before the main parades and festivities start, it's tradition on the National Day to remember those no longer with us. In previous years, I have attended ceremonies at Nidaros Cathedral, but this year I chose to attend the one remembering the former King Olav at his statue in the gardens of the royal residence. This ceremony involved a short concert by a brass band, followed by a speech delivered by 2 young Trondheim locals. Small events like this happen all over the city, and they're advertised in advance in the 17th of May programme. It would be impossible to attend all the events listed here, but that's not really the point. There are small events taking place all over Trondheim to allow as many people as possible to join in the day's events. Now, as I'd missed out on a champagne breakfast, I treated myself to traditional National Day food, a hot dog and a piece of cake, with a Norwegian flag in it, of course. I took refuge from the weather inside my office downtown, or I tuned in to national broadcaster NRK, which has blanket coverage of Constitution Day celebrations from around Norway and the world. Knowing we were in for a very wet and windy day, it was frustrating to see the glorious weather in Oslo, especially as I'd been in the capital city for last year's National Day when the weather was equally fantastic. By the way, if you want to see how things are celebrated in Oslo, check out my videos from last year. I'll link to those in the video notes. Just before 10 AM, it was time for the Barnetog, considered the main event by many people. Barnetoget literally means the children's train, and it is an important part of 17th of May celebrations in every single community all over Norway, large or small. Trondheim has one of the largest, with 54 schools taking part in this year's parade. Despite the rain and the wind, a surprising number of people lined the streets of downtown Trondheim to cheer on their local school. The first schools in this year's parade were Brundalen, Bispehaugen and the Birreli International School, all chosen because they are celebrating an anniversary this year. If you were to watch the entire parade, you'd be stood here for an hour and a half. But don't worry, I'll just show you a few clips. While you enjoy the barnetog, I'll briefly explain what Norway's National Day is all about. Celebrated every 17th of May, Norwegian Constitution Day serves as modern Norway's birthday. It remembers the day the Norwegian Constitution was signed at Eidsvoll in 1814, declaring Norway to be an independent kingdom following centuries of Danish rule. Although the country did then enter a personal union with Sweden that lasted until 1905, Constitution Day remains the key date of independence in Norwegian history. After the children's parade was done, people took shelter wherever they could. It was a good opportunity to buy an ice cream or a waffle, both staple 17th of May food for the young and the not so young, before some more music. As the sun threatened to make an appearance just after midday, it was time for the Folketog, or People's Parade. This features groups from companies, clubs and associations in and around Trondheim. Unfortunately, the rain and the wind soon returned, yet most people still found a way to stay and watch the parade. There's often friendly competition between participants for the most creative participation in the parade, and this year was no different. Despite the wet weather, local hockey teams donned hockey skates, dance groups performed routines, and children's gymnastic groups entertained the crowds. After another downpour sent crowds of people inside yet again, it was time for the final parade of the day. This much shorter one is reserved for Norway's Rus, the graduating high school students who end their almost month-long celebration on Constitution Day, before, in most cases, settling down to take their final exams. While the day is far from over at this point, the main public celebrations are. Typically, big groups of families and friends now head to bars and restaurants to see out the day in style. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Norwegian Constitution Day in Trondheim. What does the National Day look like in your country? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.